and get the word out. Alrighty, welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari DXC. We are about to get this started, and the topic that I'm going to talk about today is one that's near, dear, and personal to me. So I just want to start by saying that, yes, I know Tuesdays normally are my politics focus because of the midterm centric, and we do have a large news story, and unfortunately a media that would still rather talk about Queen Elizabeth's death and not about the fact that a sitting U.S. senator from South Carolina, who has no children, who has never had a uterus in his entire existence, wants to pass a nationwide abortion ban. It's hard because I am not a journalist. I did gaming journalism back in the day, but I've never considered myself in the field of journalism. But it saddens me that the people who are in this field, who should be continuously hammering the fact that the other side, the conservative party, want to restrict women's rights, want to dehumanize us, make us nothing but fuckable meat bags and baby incubators, want to pass ridiculous laws that literally only give us 15 weeks. And I need to remind people that the human body we're not all similar. Even though pregnancy can go for 9 months, not everybody goes through the same thing within 9 months. That's why Black mother infant mortality rates are so high. I literally carried kiddo for 38 weeks without knowing I was pregnant. I had mental health issues. I was a big woman. There was absolutely nothing within my health history to let me know that I was pregnant with him. Not every pregnancy is the same for every woman. Yet we have these chuckleheads, these old white men who, I'm sorry, you can't tell me Lindsey Graham has ever even been between anybody's legs, but especially not a woman, outside coming out of his mama, is going to tell me that 15 weeks is enough, and they might make exceptions for ectopic pregnancies. And it's like, you don't understand what goes on in a woman's body. You don't understand pregnancy at all, because non-binary trans men can also carry children. You don't understand the complexities of the uterine walls or fibroids or any of the stuff that we go through. Yet you want to pass laws dictating what we can do with our bodies. And our media, who owes it to us to call this bullshit out, owes it to us to call out the rise in radicalism and fascism that threatens all of our freedom, instead wants to talk about Queen Elizabeth's death. I get it. She was a long-standing monarch. We had good ties with England still, but move on. She wasn't our queen. And this continuous coverage, ignoring the fact that there's just like vehement haters for one of her in-laws because the woman just happens to be biracial. And I'm going to get to that because it ties in to the black girl magic thing in ways that is just sad. But the fact that our country is going through this right as the midterms are coming up, the fact that we literally have conservatives running on an agenda to restrict women's rights needs to give you all pause, because this is not a game anymore. We are in the year 2022. And as a woman, our rights to exist as viable, equal human beings should not come under question. It is no longer acceptable. This weird societal structure where we have to be less than, where we have to dull our shine, where we cannot be ourselves because, oh, it might make people feel uncomfortable. Oh, they might feel, no, enough. We've tried it that way and it doesn't work. And it's tiring. Now we've got these chuckleheads trying to literally pass a national abortion law. How many more times do they have to tell you that this is all they have going for them? That power in monetary gains for them, restricting people's rights, making people feel less than so that they can feel above. That is the only thing the conservative agenda has going for them now, and we have to be the ones to stop it. And how do we stop it? But continuing to shine, continuing to erode their places of power. These midterms, we need to turn out in ways that they cannot counteract and show them that we are no longer going to be a nation governed by their weird theological weirdness. Because this is infuriating at this point. And we can't rely on the media that is supposed to do their job and call this out and talk about this at least. No. They're too busy talking about the Queen's funeral. It's sad and it's sickening. And any kind of talk of an abortion ban needs to stop. Because an abortion is a procedure that should be between the person carrying the fetus and their doctor. Not you, not me, not anybody who isn't in the immediate creation of that child should have anything to say about the future of said zygote. And that is the reality of the situation. I am sick and tired of having this argument. I wouldn't want anybody telling me what I could do with something that's going on inside of fucking me. But that is the reality for women right now. It needs to stop. This whole need to own and control people has to stop. It is insulting and infuriating. And it's a roadblock to the actual progress that we need and deserve as humans that I am sick and tired of trying to navigate over. We need to just explode it because it's fucking sickening. And I don't understand what Lindsey Graham and other assholes like him are thinking with this. Some people are speculating. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. Maybe he's doing this on purpose to deflect from the voter suppression tactics that he tried. The fact that they've got him on tape calling up secretaries of states in different southern areas trying to get them to certify things for Trump despite what the voters wanted. Even if this was some last-ditch Hail Mary from Lindsey Graham to try to deflect from his obvious criminal activity, it's still the agenda of the Conservative Party to dehumanize women. It's why in Tennessee, which I keep bringing up because it's infuriating that the news media doesn't carry this story, there are literal people running on the idea that the age of consent laws need to be lowered or looked at because why not have a 14-year-old bride? They want to groom girls to be obedient baby makers and then cast them aside when they get too old and move on to the next young bride. It's sickening. It's disgusting. And the indoctrination is not going to stop until we stop it. I'm sick and tired of my gender being devalued. I'm sick and tired of my existence being at the whims of old white men who have no respect for us. It ties into what happened last night. I'm not a big award show watcher. I normally could give a fuck about awards. I learned long ago that cookie or pat on the head isn't going to make you feel anything but the need for more. So for me, awards never were a big deal. So yeah, I did not watch the Emmys. I'm kind of regretful because a lot of black women got to shine last night, and that would have been nice to see. But like I said, I've never been one for awards. They just, no. But to have the woman who created Abbott Elementary, Miss Quinta, have her speech interrupted by Jimmy Kimmel, who I normally watch every once in a while. I used to like his show back in the day, especially when he did those little sketches with the kids and taking the candy. I didn't have an issue with Jimmy Kimmel for who he was, just another wanna-be funny guy that got lucky enough to get his talk show. But then you do stuff like this as a host, and it's like, it's not about you. And sometimes you gotta realize when your bit's not working and you're just being disrespectful. But of course, you get these people, especially white people, that want to try to mansplain, blacksplain, whitesplain, everything splain to the people who have constantly had to graciously smile while putting up with your foolishness. Because we can't look out of pocket. Homegirl couldn't be like, you're ruining my moment, can you please get up? No, she had to smile and graciously try to thank the people that helped her get where she was during a moment. It was her moment. And I know that white people, you just can't allow us to vent about our moments without having to bring up Kanye, which Kanye's a whole ass embarrassment. And to the young gentleman, I hope you get your merit badge of whiteness, because obviously that must be what they pass out to you guys, to have to jump in to black people when we're on social media making a point about something that is a microaggression, and you come in with your but what about. I hope it made you feel good to jump in with the Kanye West, Taylor Swift thing. But you're not doing yourself any favors, because A, Kanye thinks he's one of you. Apparently, black people are only useful to him as long as they are his either entourage or buying his albums. But he does not care about us. So I don't know what point you were trying to make, but this isn't a tit for tat thing. What Kanye did was inexcusable, and he got called out by everybody. Y'all jump in when we're calling them out. But when we call one of your people out for a blatant disrespectful act, he's wondering what about. And that's a problem with trying to have serious dialogue about racist and other bigoted macroaggression, because it goes beyond just the color stuff. There is a real problem within humanity with dehumanization based on gender, based on sexual attraction, based on so many ways that you can categorize and pack people up. And you don't understand the fluidity of humanity. You don't understand your own difference and fluidity. You make life harder. And you refuse to understand yourself because you'd rather be fit into this weird, rigid puzzle piece that society wants to shape you in so that you don't feel off. But as you try to continuously mold yourself into that piece and exemplarize yourself for other pieces that are supposedly like you end up fraying, because it is hard to continue to shave off portions of yourself to try to fit in. Too many humans, they don't want to introspect. They don't want to reflect on that. They would rather fight against it. And they become angry and bitter and hateful. And what kills me is, even in spite of a world where we have to navigate people like this, we still find moments of joy. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of something that supposedly is a hot button topic. I don't understand it because I think she's beautiful. But apparently, all weekend and beyond, this beautiful picture from the trailer, because Disney did a whole rollout of their upcoming movies, inflamed so many people. But you know what it also did? Let me fire this up, because I was in tears after watching this. And this was a nice compilation of them all. I just want you all to see this. She's like me. People ask you what it's about, like why I decided that I needed to write, why I decided to get out of my shell just a little bit and take those chances. And it was because of stuff like this. Not having proper representation, not seeing yourself in a positive light, can have such a detrimental impact. And that we're in 2022, wait until 2023 to finally get positive female representation where we are legitimately the stars. Because no knock to Brother Man, I am so glad that we got Black Panther, but that highlighted more T'Challa. And this is for us. This is for the little black girls that went through going through a store in New York and not seeing black dolls on the shelf. This is for the black girls who would be in schools where sometimes you're the only black face. This is for the black girls who never seen ourselves represented in fantasy in such a beautiful way without being an animal. And I love Tiana. The Princess and the Frog is still one of my favorite Disney movies, but the point still stands that she didn't get to be a princess long at all in that movie. And that's the reality. They find ways to dehumanize, animalize, and demean us. They strip our humanity every time they write us. And I know some bigot will probably want to twist that and be like, well, now you're a fish, then what? But she's beautiful, she gets to sing, and she gets to be human. That's Ariel's whole story. And what I love is the people talking about Hans Christian Andersen and how the story was an allegory for his gender and sexual fluidity. And that so many people don't realize that as they're arguing about Ariel's skin color. She's a fucking mermaid. Fantasy has room for all of us. Yet so many of you want to talk about, oh, it's too woke and being anti-woke. And you're anti-human and you're anti-diversity. And I don't understand that because we're not going anywhere. We have been here with you since the beginning. You're not going to just get rid of black, brown, and everybody else. So why can't we just learn to be here and accept each other and learn towards equality? So much human evolution is held back by such ignorance. And why? Because that illusion of power is just gripped so many people. And when I see the joy in these babies' faces at being positively represented, it chafes me that you've got idiots like this one. And I hate to counterbalance the joy with such ignorance. But I really want people to see the levels of stupidity this so-called personal race war is. And while I got motherfucker blocked, tweets are forever. And you know people are grabbing a screenshot of Mr. I don't pay my child support Matt Walsh. The rules we're supposed to accept. Having a white actor play Black Panther, I'll get to that in just a moment, is horribly racist. But it's also horribly racist to complain about a black actor playing the Little Mermaid. This is absolutely indefensible. No, it actually is defensible. I'm going to get to that in a moment. And hypocritical, and we all know it. Let's start with this. First of all, pay your child support, Matt Walsh. I think I'll start with that because I can't stand deadbeats. Just sing with me. Second, you want a white actor to play Black Panther. Well, if you were a comic book nerd, which I happen to be, you'll know there was a white man that had the mantle of Black Panther. So technically, if Marvel wanted to write a decent storyline and make that so, most people who are fans of the comic book wouldn't say boo. Another thing is, why is it always trying to take something that is historically or canonically black and making it white when legitimately you are arguing that because Disney made Ariel white in a cartoon almost 30 years ago, that all mermaids are supposed to be fucking white? I need you to understand that mermaids aren't real, but even if they were, their skin color would probably be more greenish, grayish, really interchangeable on how the sea colors are in fish. They could even fucking be purple. It shouldn't matter. The fact of the matter is, homegirl, Halle Bailey, blew the audition away. When you hear the bars in that opening trailer and hear her singing beautifully, it is hauntingly amazing. But your hate can't see that. And then you got literal fucking bigots, AI trying to change her skin tone again. And it's like, it's all about that whiteness. And I don't understand it at this point. I legit do not understand y'all's obsession with whatabouts. It's like you have to highlight how mediocre you are at this point, because Ariel is just a fictional character. And like I said, if you were a real comic book nerd, you wouldn't be bringing up the fact that what if we got a white guy to play Black Panther, because legitimately there was a white Black Panther. But I know that because I've read the series, you dumb bigot. The fact of the matter is, as we continue to strive, as we continue to shine, as we continue to get ours, there are going to be plenty of disgusting people trying to steal that joy. And I love the fact that Shirley Ralph, that Quintetta, that Zendaya, that so many of us are finding a place where we didn't have one. But it's like I said earlier, I don't like the awards mentality, because I feel like even though we should have been shining years ago, we never felt like we had a place there. And these first in years, it's been 30 years since a Black woman won a comedy Emmy. Black women have been in comedy for a long time. Looking at you, Whoopi. Looking at you, Wanda. Looking at you, homegirl. Oh, I'm blanking. The Wayne sister. There are so many talented Black performers that have been left to the wayside or forgotten about. There's a whole ass series called Unsung that constantly highlights Black musicians, Black artists, Black actors and actresses that made an impact but couldn't get their foot through the door of white acceptability to become mainstream enough. And then when they do become mainstream, they're the butt of the jokes or hated. Like, I know I have a vehement dislike of Kevin Hart for some reason. He gets on my nerves. I don't know why. Maybe it's just we are conditioned to look down on somebody who has succeeded, and the man works his ass off. I shouldn't dislike him. I don't know why he irks me, but he just does. And that comes with societal conditioning to look down on anybody successful. That's why so many people are all of a sudden hating on JC and hating on Beyonce. They cannot stand to see Black excellence, and it's infuriating. And we have to detox ourselves. We have to stop allowing this hatred to be the norm, because it really is infuriating and exhausting at this point. These women earned this. Shirley Ralph is a fucking treasure, and she's so talented. And the way she cried, welcome to the chat, respect. How emotional she got last night, I'm sorry I missed it. I just don't do award shows. But it's a sad testament to just how whitewashed entertainment and these shows are. So I just don't bother with stuff like that. But it shouldn't take from our shine. And just like last week with Serena's last Open, yeah, those people trying to negatively talk about how they didn't like her attitude. I don't give a fuck what you think about her attitude. She dominated in the sport that most people tried to tell us wasn't for us. And she didn't care. And her sister Venus did the same thing. They are legends. And all these white men who could never, who want to have words, all these forgotten about tennis people who could never. I'm not going to let you steal their joy. Lizzo is amazing too. And thank you for reminding me of that, because she has gone through some stuff these last few weeks too. With that weirdo, probably in deep trouble, Ari Spears going after her. With that one, I forget the name of that supposed fashion lady, getting her confused with Gabori. There are so many people who want to disrespect Black women, but especially Black women who they think are beneath them or look different than them. And it's infuriating because Lizzo is a fucking treasure. Like, her talent is phenomenal. Just moving around the stage in heels, playing a fucking flute and singing her ass off. You want to talk about her size when you could never? Get the fuck out of here. And it's always the people that could never that have the most mouth. And they don't just do it for black women that look like us. They do it to anybody that constitutes as black, because we have seen it in the coverage of Queen Elizabeth's death. The amount of disgusting news stories. And I'm seeing it here in the US. So I can only imagine how nasty it is over there. Of hating on Meghan Markle for daring to marry Prince Harry. And I'm going to say this at the risk of hurting people's feelings, especially that lady I just blocked. Harry was never looking at you. So I know it must chafe you that he found such a beautiful, put together, humble and sweet woman to not only marry, but bear two beautiful children with, who are now prince and princess, but cope. Because they're happy and they love each other. And them holding hands, him getting the door for her, them being in love is not an affront to you unless you're a fucking bigot. And I think you need some deep introspection, because there are a lot of angry, bitter Beckys out there that just cannot stand the fact that the Sussex are a well together in love couple. You just need to get over it. Even if Harry had been single, he wasn't looking your way. And I don't want to hear any more bullshit about Meghan not following protocol. She literally went back to a country that hounded her to the point of near fucking suicide to support her husband. She has put on a brave face, and I'm going to be real, because I think it needs to be said. And I can't speak for any other families that are biracial or make up a mixed ethnicity. But being a black woman who is with a partner who isn't black, you always deal with the caveats of, yeah, I talk to his family, but I'm not as close to them as I would like to be, because they still view me as the black girlfriend. Just like I'm sure my friends who became the black wife had to deal with that. You're always treated different. Now, ramp that up times a fucking 100 because you happen to marry into the British royal family. And not only do you have to deal with the awkwardness of being the black wife to a royal family, but that have all Harry's wannabe people who thought they should be in her place hating on her, all of his detractors hating on her, and just it's a fucking mess that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And then to have somebody that Harry was very close to die and want to be there to support him and his family, despite this country treating her like garbage and still having grace. But yet you get these weird ass articles about body language and these weird ass things trying to make her seem like she caused trouble when she didn't. And I'm sorry, we are in the digital age and people are quick to counter your nonsense now. You tried to make that sunflower, because that's the latest video I seen where they tried to spin it negative. And the person who gave her the sunflowers had to speak up and was like, no, my family were the ones that gave her the flowers and she was really gracious. But that's how nasty people are to the thought that an actual royal fell in love with a beautiful woman that just happens to be biracial. And people are like, why are you making it about color? Because your people long time ago set up a system. I don't know whether it was because you saw people with my skin tone and darker and thought, oh no, that's different from me. We can't have that. You're scary. Not too scary that we can't stick our dicks in you if we need to or do whatever we want to you. But we can't classify you as humans. So we have to structureize society to consistently dehumanize and make sure that you feel lower than us. And the world just keeps going on with that bullshit. And it's infuriating to the point where even when we do come together, like my relationship, even when we produce beautiful children who are gracious and humble, who understand that this world is hateful, but you don't gotta be, you still try to erode them. And the shit that you are doing to the Sussex is so unacceptable. And I am saying this not only to that lady that I unfollowed the block, but anybody that follows me. If you got that much hate in your heart, why are you bothering with me? I don't need you around me. I don't want that negative energy in my field. I don't need it. And you don't need to be around somebody like me. You are a sponge and a siphon for my joy. And it's apparent to me that Black women having, succeeding, doing, and shining makes you chafe. So you need to move along. You don't belong near me and around me. And I'm going to be frank about that. I don't understand the unhinged rant she went on. All in caps, too. The whole idea that Meghan wasn't following protocol. What protocols? It's a fucking funeral, and she wanted to set flowers over herself. The fact that you was finding fault with how somebody acts during a fucking funeral because you think you would have been a better princess. Well, guess what? You didn't get the chance. Harry is happy. He's in love. They have 2 beautiful kids, and they are going to come back to the U.S. and live their best life together. Y'all will die salty, bitter bitches. And it's shameful that I even have to take the time to chide or even admonish people like this. But the amount of hate that she's getting unnecessarily makes absolutely no sense to me. But that is just the world we're in with these old, shrivel up, bitter old bigots that just want to hate on this loving couple. They're not just loving to each other. They literally go out to try to help the world. And all they're met for their kindness and empathy is scorn and just rejection because yous could never. And I've noticed that is a recurring pattern with a lot of certain people. Yous could never achieve in the spite of the world hating you for who you are. You could never just be happy and take that happiness and try to make others. Yous aren't about uplifting and guiding. Yous are about controlling and making sure you get yours. And it's that selfishness that you can't seem to let go of. And that is why when somebody is genuine and kind and helpful and wants to do right by the world, they seem fake to you. Because you can never see yourself doing something like that. And it's time to hold up a mirror to yourself every time you try to call out somebody like Meghan Markle, because she has walked the walk for years. Before she met Harry and after, because I'm sorry, I'm a real full-on sociopath. If I had half the privilege she had, yous would hate me. Because you're like, bitch, I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm a fucking princess. But that is why people like me aren't royals. We could, no. To have the amount of grace and dignity and strength that she has, that is a fucking feat. And some of you's really bitter bitches would never. And it's exhausting watching you try to erode Black joy. Our VP was on Meet the Press the other day. And you had people trying to ding her for laughing. You had people trying with all their massaging her, asking if she's ready. She is ready because she supports the president that she is VP to. And she has made it clear that in 2024 she will be running as his VP again. Because this isn't about just her trajectory. This is about healing a wounded nation. This is about coming together and lifting all of us up, which her and Joe Biden are doing together as a fucking team. But we are in a nation of selfish and entitled motherfuckers who just, they don't understand it because they've never lived that life. It's why they were able to try to disrespect Ketanji Jackson Brown during her confirmation hearings, because they could never understand what it's like to be a Black girl in notorious white girl spaces. Not even white girl, white male spaces. Harvard and Yale isn't a place for Black women. You can't fool me. She was able to graduate magna cum laude, the top honors in both, because that is what happens when you have support and when you are smart and strong enough. And now she is our first Black Supreme Court Justice. But if you remember that week, and I'm sure you did, that was the week they decided to drop Dobbs and destroy Roe versus Wade to distract us from that moment of joy, because our shine scares them. And then you've got brothers, and I know some of them are just bots, some of them are Russian bots, some of them aren't real, who want to weigh in on things like Ariel being black and try to get their digs in. And Black women's shine isn't a threat to you. Black girl magic helps elevate all of us. The fact that I even have to say this in this day and age is exhausting, but I won't, because I am tired of seeing us sister girls dull ourselves, hide ourselves for what? A society that isn't going to accept us anyway? That's why we make our own acceptance. Some of you think we're just being defiant. No, we're just being ourselves. Unapologetically she. And I'm sick and tired of people acting like, oh, if you acted a little more humble, why? You don't like us when we're humble. You don't like us when we're loud. You don't like us, and we get it. So we're tired of living for you. And I think more people need to understand that. Black women are doing this for ourselves, not just sisters, though I love that song too. Black women are doing this with or without you. We are getting our education. We are taking chances. We are reshaping this world. We are educating our children to go beyond. And it is tiring trying to navigate the ignorance and attitudes and outright hate that some people give us for daring to be bold and shine and not hide ourselves. But we're not going to stop. And if your whole race war, because that's the bullshit that these bigots have been pushing online for years now, arming themselves up, pushing that they're going to be these like martial militias and bullshit. But your whole argument is, well, they're changing characters in a fictional Disney movie to make skin color darker, and I feel sad. Hella pathetic. I can't feel nothing but pity for how ridiculous you are at this point. Because we're all human beings, you idiots. But the fact of the matter is, you can't feel good about yourself without having somebody look down for it. And that is a you problem. That is a psychological condition that you need to work on. It has absolutely nothing to do with my black ass. And I am sick and tired of navigating a society based on your feels. The fact of the matter is, you're not stopping black excellence. As you've seen with Shirley Ralph, as you've seen with Lizzo, as you've seen with Quinta, we are not going anywhere. And while there are plenty of black men, amazing black actors, amazing black singers, amazing black athletes, I am here for my sister girls, because I am sick and tired of little black girls wondering if they're good enough, wondering if they are enough. You are, baby girl. And it doesn't matter who you are, who you love. I am sick and tired of seeing you feel like you aren't enough. I am sick and tired of a society that tries to treat you like you aren't beautiful, that you don't deserve to shine, that there isn't fantasy where you belong, that you can't be the princess of the story, the ones that need rescuing sometimes. I am so sick of the tropes that we can only be the strong or the sage or the motherly type. I say that as a motherly black woman. I am grateful for the role in my life that I've chosen, but it would have been nice to grow up and feel like I could have been the princess. And it is so sad in this day and age that there are little black girls, especially when we have a rich mythology. I am currently working on a new story, and it let me study so much of African and Orisha mythologies and just the beauty of our gods and goddesses that I hope to bring to life in this story. And it gave me pause, because there's so much out there that you hear about Greek gods all the time. You hear about the Norse gods. They make video games to them. But they never highlight from the richness of it. Everybody wants to talk about voodoo and stuff, which is in itself such a vast and beautiful mythology when you really study it. But everybody's like, oh, place of curses, place of hacks, and you know absolutely nothing of our culture. You know, bits and pieces that Hollywood mocked and made fun of, and you think you know us. You have absolutely no idea how many of your stories were stolen from our actual cultural heritage, from our songs, from our beliefs. And it just opened my eyes to just how beautiful a story in a world where it's those characters and goddesses and gods could be. And I hope that I can get it finished and done, because honestly, after writing my sci-fi novel, I know it's possible. It might take me a little longer. There might be days where I have to stop, process, because I have a lot going on in my head. But I am determined now, because I can complain about fantasy and try to argue against bigots who don't want Disney characters from 30 years ago to be color washed or whatever bullshit they want to come up with. Or I can start writing and making characters myself. And that is what I had to tell myself years ago. Real easy to complain about not seeing myself in things. Real easy to complain about not feeling like a character. I legitimately have the ability to write. I need to do it. And I realized that I love writing diversity, but real diversity, where characters don't feel like a one-off, where people's ethnicities can be highlighted without stereotyping them, without making them feel like a caricature of their culture. Because I grew up in New York. I grew up around different cultures. I realized that humans are humans. Just because you look a certain way, just because you identify a certain way, does not strip your humanity from me. And it drives me nuts that there are people that are like, well, I didn't get the feeling that this person was this. You didn't make their features seem exaggerated, or you didn't make their personality seem like that. And it's like, I get to you that anybody that isn't straight, white, and Christian come across as a caricature because you don't bother to understand or get to know anybody else around you. But for the rest of us, we understand that being human is so nuanced. There's a fluidity to existing in this world. And I just don't understand the people that do you not meet other human beings? Have you not opened your eyes to the big, beautiful world around you, and the fact that there are people that are in your species that don't culturally identify like you, but still exist? That diversity isn't your enemy, and that we could be so much further as a species if we would stop fucking nitpicking at these little bitty nuanced differences and work together on things. It makes me upset, especially as I write and I think about worlds that aren't tainted by this hatred, this social caste system that we humans set, and it's going to take us humans to break. When I think about how Black women constantly have to tell ourselves that we're enough because we aren't getting the support that we deserve. And even when we do, that's criticized. One of my favorite couples are the Wades, because not only are they a strong, supportive couple, but they support their daughter who's transitioning. They are the future of American families that scare so many people, that love and respect each other, that raise those strong bonds where your kid can confidently be themselves. I don't understand why that scares people, but sadly, that is still the America they're fighting for, where people feel insecure and anxious, where a young Black woman can't be herself. And heaven forbid if she's a young Black trans woman. And I refuse. I refuse to let the country drag us away from that progress where little kids can be confident and happy and whole and loved within their family structure. I'm just tired of the bigots thinking they're gonna win. I'm tired of the whole idea or talk of race war. I am tired of not just being able to be. And welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. And it does. It really does. And it's been that way on purpose. Between the people who white flighted to keep them from having to go to anti-segregated schools, between the people who literally fought to keep their kids' schools from having black students or too many black students. I know as a Gen Xer, it was a weird time for me because I went from an elementary school where most of the kids looked almost all like me, and you had the one or two few white and Italian kids, to going to a junior high where pretty soon I was almost the only face that looked like me, and then high school the only face in my class that looked like me. And it was shell shock. And that's when you learn how to code switch, and that's when you learn that you really do stand out even amongst your friends. And it gives you an identity crisis sometimes, because you don't want to not fit in, but you don't want to lose yourself either. And it's a lot to go through as a teenager, especially because you love the things that you and your friends love, but you also love things about your culture and yourself that you don't want to shed. But you realize that to be acceptable, you have to hide those things. And it's a fucking mess. And there are so many of us that have had to detox and deprogram that side of ourselves. And it's sickening. Exactly, respect. That imposter syndrome. And so many of us, if we're real about it, can tell you a story or two. Whether it was through school, whether it was through work, and work was always a doozy. The microaggressions in the workplace has caused so much mental and heart problems for black women. I can't even begin. One of the worst incidents I had was with somebody I thought was going to end up my best friend. They helped me get the fucking job. And yet, because I wanted to not only present a presentable look, so I dressed the part. I was working corporate finance. I'm going to wear a suit. I am going to look my best. I am going to answer questions. I am going to do my job to the best of my abilities. I was no threat to her. She was secretarial staff. But according to her, with tears in her eyes, I was aggressive. You want to know the aggressive thing I said to this person? And this stuck with me. Almost 30 years have gone by, but it is stuck with me. She got snarky with me and was like, oh, you're dressed up fancy. And it was just a nice pinstripe suit I liked that I got from Lane Bryant. I was like, yeah, I got it from Lane Bryant. They have clothes in your size too, because we were big women. I am still a hefty girl. And she was a very big lady. I didn't say it mean. I wasn't coming out. It wasn't like I was saying, hey, you can go dress up better too. If I had said it in a way that I was being nasty, I would have apologized. I didn't even think about it. And if it hurt her feelings, it would have been nice for her to have said, hey, the way you said that kind of hurt me. It felt like you were implying something, because I would have been like, no, girl, I'm a big lady too. But she decided instead to take her hurt feelings to our boss and say that I had been aggressive with her, which, no. After that, I transferred. I went further south, and I didn't talk to her after that, because you can't trust somebody like that. And it's sad, because I felt like I owed this person. She got me in. But the moment it looked like I was going to do all right, that's when the knife came out. And it's just like, what in the heck? And so many of us have stories like this where you just want to know why. What did you do wrong? You went from being cool to all of a sudden I'm aggressive towards you, and I know myself. I'm not going to act like I'm an angel. Plenty of people have stories where I have been aggressive towards them. If I'm aggressive towards you, I like to, you'll know, because I know I'm being aggressive. So it took me out. I had to stop and pause and question myself because I know old Tim, especially being from New York, that if I needed to be aggressive with somebody, if I wanted to hurt somebody, I could. But this was somebody I considered a friend who said I was being aggressive and literally cried and made the boss feel like he had to take me to the side to make sure I wasn't being nasty to his secretary, who I, at the time, thought was my friend. And it's stuff like that that lingers with you. It's stuff like that that gives you trust issues. It's stuff like that that makes it harder to just be. And this is why it chafes us when you go after things like, oh, Halle Berry playing, and you don't even get that right. Some bigot was actually attacking Halle Berry, Berry, the actual actress, talking about how a 60-year-old who, if you looked at Halle Berry and was complaining about her playing anything when the woman's fucking beautiful, and then getting her age wrong too, fuck you. But the amount of bigotry that you have of black women is noted, and you need to chill because we're tired. I say this as a 45-year-old woman. I am exhausted from the micro and macro transactions that you put upon our souls. I ain't asked for this life, and I'm making the best out of it that I can, but I'm fucking tired of navigating y'all's fuckery. And I know I'm not alone in this. And we women all need to stop allowing the disrespect to ourselves. And I don't mean that means coming together and attacking our trans sisters, because some of you fuckers are doing that. And you can turf your asses on out of my circles too. This is an all-inclusive circle. My circle has room for my trans sisters. My circle has room for my white and Asian sisters. But it doesn't have room for the people who don't want to see color. It doesn't have room for people who have acceptable forms of bigotry. It doesn't have room for people who want to still dehumanize humans to feel better about themselves. I'm tired of having these conversations with my fellow human beings. I don't want men to feel less than. I'm just tired of them thinking that they're smarter than us or better than us, and in some cases stronger than us, because that's not always the case. I'm tired of a world where you need that, because it's mentally not working for you. That's why so many of you get angry and snap and need to solve your problems with a gun. There's some fucking wackadoo here. Kill his wife and daughter. They want to blame QAnon and everything else, but I blame a society that tells a man that you have to be a certain way, that you have to uphold yourself to a certain thing, that you have to live to these certain ideals. And when that pressure of that gets to them, like anything, when you apply too much pressure and they are not built to handle it, they snap. And even those of us who can handle a certain amount of pressure have a limit. And my limit has been hit years ago. That's why I had so many mental health issues. And I'm glad I'm in the day and age where I can openly talk about the mental health issues. But I'm sick and tired of not being able to talk about the root of it. Existing is exhausting, and it's exhausting because we humans make it that way. We set this weird ass system that categorizes and makes you struggle. We set a system into play where we literally work ourselves to death because it supposedly gives us purpose. We shun anybody who shows kindness and compassion, but we will stand a fraud who will say, I'm empathetic, as they do the most harmful, hateful things, and it's tiring. These are all about the flash and not the substance. And those with substance often go to the wayside and erode away because they wonder if they're too much. And if you are kind in this world, if you are empathetic in this world, you are enough. You keep the rest of us going. And I don't want to see less of you. I want to see a world where your way is the norm. Because we've seen the other side. We've seen what they want to do and how they want the world, that weird, rigid patriarchy. And I don't want that for us. I want a world where women feel okay being who they are. I want a world where men feel okay being who they are. I want people to understand the spectrum of humanity. That not all our minds work alike, but that's okay. That not all our sexualities are the same. and that's okay. And as long as that sexuality isn't putting somebody who cannot consent in a place of danger, as long as it's not predatorizing on people, mind your business. I want a world where we don't live in constant fear of our rights to exist being challenged. Where old men like Lindsey Graham aren't putting fucking bills about medical procedures that are none of their fucking business on the forefront. I want a world where a man like Donald Trump could never, ever rise to a position of power again. But we have to be the stopper of that. And the reality of this situation is the more Black women shine, the more we continue to strive, succeed, the more we become princesses and get that love that we deserve, the more pushback there's going to be. But if anyone can handle it, it is us. And I am grateful to be in this time where we can shine. I am grateful to be amongst the queens we are, seeing their goodness, elevate in their joy and their successes. It is a good time to be a Black woman, and I am so happy for my sister girls. And if you're a white friend, please don't feel left out of this. I know that seeing our joy for some of yous make you feel like, well, what about us? Embrace the fact that all women are important, but this is just something special to us because even amongst us, there's still issues. We still deal with things like colorism. We still deal with whether or not we accept women that happen to be half Black, and we have our own problems, but we're working through them. And you don't have to feel left out of the conversation of women's empowerment. But when we uplift ourselves, it is coming from a place of not having anyone else do it. We've never been sheltered. We've never been protected. So when we are joyful for one another, it is because having each other's backs is all we've ever known. And I know that can make some of you feel left out, and I'm sorry for that. But I can't apologize for wanting to uplift my sisters. All of them. Whether they are my complexion, whether they're Zendaya's complexion, whether they identify, because you got them Stacey Dashes out there who sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. They don't know wherever the money goes. We come in every shade, we come in every tone, we come in every background. And we're not going anywhere. And we're going to continue to strive and succeed. And one day we're going to be called Madam President. That's just the reality. And you can come with us. And we can all be in a better place. That's all I want to see in the future. Where women and men feel comfortable being. And we get away from these anxiety-driven, purposeless lives. And we just start being happy. I know it's possible. So much is possible on the horizon. This is the year of taking chances, and I believed. And everything I continue to believe in is happening. We've watched. Russia's gonna fall. The Ukraine is not taking this shit. Putin is being asked to step down publicly. So much good is on the horizon. And all we have to do is continue to keep pushing and shining and working together. And I know right now that it's still hard to be a woman. We're literally watching. The only card they have left is trying to dehumanize us, trying to put us back in our places. But women aren't taking that. And we need to come together using our strength, our brains, and our power to continue on, because I know we can do it. And I know we can make a future where women don't feel less than and continue to shine and be brilliant. And where that shine and brilliance don't make men feel any less than either. That world exists and we can continue towards it. But we have to stop allowing the narrative, the very loud and wrong narrative of certain people to dictate how we live. I really, when I think of the joy on all them babies' faces, just seeing things like us in fantasy, just seeing positive representation and where we can go from that. I am touched and I am joyful. And I know that we are going to continue on because, like, I've already released the story. One day, these characters will be on the big screen. I'm putting that out there. One day, you are going to see the characters from this book acted out. And they come from all walks of life. Asian, Southeast Asian, black, white, everything. People with disabilities, people with all kinds of different backgrounds, because that is the way you do science fiction, and not just having them be one-offs or from a different planet, because that is so frustrating. It was what frustrated me about sci-fi. And instead of complaining, I decided to put my own spin. And I know that there'll be a future where a young actor or actress can act out a character that I created and not be questioned because it was written for them. And it makes me feel good. And there are so many of us out there. And if you are a Black woman writer right now, please put your work out there. We need more of us out there. I know it's hard. And one of the biggest stoppers for me was my own mindset, my own fears. And I pushed past that. So please, if you're out there, just do it. Hit that send. We're waiting for you. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Get some dinner made. I will be back on Friday. Hopefully with some good news about what's going on with the January 6th committee. They are ramping up. They have been putting out stuff all week. They are just like, we have come up with so much evidence that it's crazy. And I'm not sure who they're going to get to come and speak. It has been a wild summer as it is with what went on with Lady Shay and all of them. But I'm glad that the committee has decided to keep going on. And I am looking forward to seeing how they continuously show how awfully corrupt the conservatives have been and how they have only shown loyalty to Trump and not to America. But we are going to wrap this up. I will be back on Friday. Greg's about to get off work, so I know he'll be busting in here like the Kool-Aid Man soon. Thank you all for sitting in. Terry, respect. Everybody who tunes in on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who's been helping out with the Kickstarter. We are getting so close to that goal, but even if we don't hit it, I plan, especially with the new book covers coming out, to get as many books out as possible. I'm just hopeful. And I am so excited. And I thank all of you who have supported these Bonnet Chronicles and beyond. But I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you all in a bit. You take care.